I've always been the wallflower, the girl who blends into the background like the plants I study. Plano, Texas isn't exactly a hotbed of excitement, but it's home. My name's Amelia Parker, and at 31, I'm married to my work, quite literally. The only rings on my fingers are from coffee stains, and the only kisses I get are from the morning dew on my beloved specimens. It was just another Tuesday night when my life decided to throw me a curveball. The lab had been particularly draining, and I found myself craving a pint of Rocky Road at 2 a.m. As I trudged to the 24-hour convenience store, the sky decided to open up. Great. Just great. I burst through the door, my blonde hair plastered to my face, looking like a drowned rat, and there she was, a vision in a leather jacket, dark hair cascading down her back, examining the nutrition label on a bag of chips like it held the secrets of the universe. Rough night? Her voice was low, amused. I looked up, meeting the bluest eyes I'd ever seen. My breath caught in my throat. You could say that, I managed, suddenly aware of how I must look. Plants don't respect office hours. She laughed, a rich sound that made something flutter in my chest. Neither do bugs. Kira Martinez, entomologist. She extended a hand and I took it, feeling a jolt that had nothing to do with static electricity. Amelia Parker, botanist, I replied, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. You're new in town? Just moved from Seattle for a research gig. Plano's. Different. I snorted. That's one way to put it. It grows on you, though, like moss. Her eyes lit up. A plant joke? Be still, my nerdy heart. We ended up talking for an hour, right there in the snack aisle. Kira was everything I wasn't. Confident, outgoing, with a wicked sense of humor. She told me about her work with rare butterflies, and I found myself hanging on every word. As the night wore on, I felt something shifting inside me. It was like looking at a slide under a microscope and suddenly seeing a whole new world come into focus. Kira wasn't just interesting, she was magnetic. We should grab coffee sometime, she said as we finally made our way to the checkout. Compare notes on the thrilling nightlife of Plano. I hesitated for a split second. This was new territory for me. But something about Kira made me want to be brave. I'd like that, I said, surprising myself. As I walked home, my ice cream melting forgotten in its bag, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of excitement that had nothing to do with a new species of fern. The next few days were a blur of anticipation. I found myself checking my phone more often, wondering if Kira would text. When she finally did, suggesting we meet at the campus coffee shop, I spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing an outfit. Our professional meeting was anything but. We talked about everything from the mating habits of praying mantises to our favorite sci-fi novels. Kira's laugh was infectious, and I found myself opening up in a way I never had before. As we parted ways, Kira's hand brushed mine. This was fun, she said, her eyes twinkling. We should do it again sometime. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As I watched her walk away, I realized I was in trouble. Because for the first time in my life, I was developing feelings for a woman, and I had no idea what to do about it. That night, I lay awake, replaying every moment of our encounter. The way Kira's eyes crinkled when she smiled, the passion in her voice when she talked about her work. I'd never felt this way about anyone before, let alone another woman. Was I gay, bi, just confused? The questions swirled in my mind, keeping sleep at bay. One thing was certain, my orderly little world had been turned upside down, and Kira Martinez was the cause. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of accidental encounters with Kira. She seemed to materialize everywhere, the campus library, the coffee shop, even the tiny organic market where I bought my overpriced kale. Each time, my heart would do a little somersault, and I'd find myself fumbling for words like a freshman in her first lab. We've got to stop meeting like this, Kira joked one day, catching me off guard in the biology building. She was leaning against the wall, all casual confidence in her leather jacket and ripped jeans. I, on the other hand, was buried under a stack of research papers and probably had a pencil stuck in my hair. Oh, you know, I stammered, trying to sound nonchalant and failing miserably. Just sciencing. Kira laughed, that rich sound that made my knees weak. Sciencing, huh? Well, how about we do some non-sciencing for a change? Dinner tonight? I froze. This was it, the moment of truth. Was this a date? Did I want it to be a date? My mind raced through 1,000 scenarios, most of them ending with me making a complete fool of myself. Yeah, sure, I managed to squeak out. Real smooth, Amelia. Kira's smile could have lit up the whole campus. Great, I know this little Thai place downtown. Meet you there at 7? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As she walked away, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. What the hell was I doing? The rest of the day was a blur of nervous energy. I changed outfits 3 times, settling on a green blouse that brought out my eyes and a pair of jeans that actually fit a rarity in my wardrobe of baggy lab coats and sensible slacks. The Thai place was cozy and dim, with little candles flickering on each table. Kira was already there, looking stunning in a simple black dress. My mouth went dry. "You look amazing," she said, her eyes twinkling. I blushed, mumbling a thank you. As we settled in, the conversation flowed as easily as it had that first night in the convenience store. Kira told me about her latest research on a rare species of moth, her hands gesturing animatedly. I found myself leaning in, captivated not just by her words, but by the passion behind them. "Sorry," she said, catching herself mid-sentence. "I tend to get carried away when it comes to bugs." "No, don't apologize," I said, surprising myself with my earnestness. It's beautiful, actually, the way you talk about your work." Kira's smile softened. "You get it, don't you? That drive to understand, to uncover the secrets of the natural world." I nodded, feeling a warm glow in my chest. It's like, every time you make a new discovery, no matter how small, you're the first person in the history of the world to know that thing. It's magical. "Exactly," Kira exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. She reached across the table, her hand covering mine. The touch sent a jolt through my entire body. For a moment, we just sat there, connected. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. This was it, the moment where I could either lean in or pull away. But before I could make a decision, the waiter appeared with our food, breaking the spell. Kira withdrew her hand, and I felt a pang of disappointment. As we ate, I found myself stealing glances at her. The way her hair fell across her face, the curve of her neck, the elegant line of her collarbone. I'd never looked at a woman this way before, and it was both terrifying and exhilarating. After dinner, we walked through the park, our shoulders brushing occasionally. The night air was cool, and I shivered slightly. "Here," Kira said, shrugging off her jacket and draping it over my shoulders. The gesture was so natural, so caring, that I felt my heart swell. "Thanks," I murmured, inhaling the scent of leather and something uniquely Kira. We stopped by a small pond, watching the moonlight ripple on the water. Kira turned to me, her expression serious. "Amelia," she said softly, "I really like you, and I think you might like me too. But I get the sense that this is all new for you." I swallowed hard, nodding. I haven't. "It's okay," Kira said, taking my hand. "We can take this as slow as you need, no pressure." I looked into her eyes, seeing nothing but warmth and understanding, and in that moment, I made a decision. I leaned in, my heart pounding, and pressed my lips to hers. The kiss was soft, tentative at first, then deepening as Kira responded. It was nothing like kissing a man. It was softer, sweeter, electric in a way I'd never experienced before. When we finally pulled apart, I was breathless. Kira rested her forehead against mine, a smile playing on her lips. "Wow," she whispered. "Yeah," I agreed, feeling dazed and giddy. As we walked back to my apartment, hand in hand, I felt like I was floating. Everything had changed, and yet everything felt right in a way it never had before. Standing at my door, Kira gave me one more soft kiss. "Good night, Amelia," she said. "Sweet dreams." I watched her walk away, my heart full to bursting. As I closed the door behind me, I couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly blooming. The weeks following that first kiss were a whirlwind of stolen moments and secret smiles. Kira and I fell into an easy rhythm, our worlds intertwining like the roots of my beloved plants. We'd meet for coffee between classes, exchange flirtatious texts about bug mating habits, who knew entomology could be so sexy, and spend long evenings talking about everything and nothing. But as exhilarating as it all was, I couldn't shake the nagging fear in the pit of my stomach. This was Plano, Texas, not exactly known for its progressive attitudes. And then there was the small matter of my own confusion. Was I gay? Bi? Just experimenting? The questions swirled in my mind, keeping me up at night. One balmy afternoon, Kira suggested we take a tour of the university's new state-of-the-art greenhouse. Come on, plant nerd, she teased. I want to see you in your natural habitat. I rolled my eyes, but my heart fluttered at the thought of sharing my passion with her. As we entered the humid air of the greenhouse, I felt myself relax. This was my domain. And over here, I said, gesturing to a delicate orchid, is the Paphiopedilum rothschildianum. It's known as the gold of Kinabalu orchid. It's incredibly rare and... I turned to find Kira staring at me, a soft smile on her face. What? I asked, suddenly self-conscious. Nothing, she said, stepping closer. You're just beautiful when you're in your element. Before I could respond, she leaned in and kissed me. It was different from our first kiss, more confident, more passionate. I melted into her, forgetting everything else. Until I heard a sharp intake of breath behind us. We broke apart to find Dr. Jameson, my stuffy old colleague, staring at us with wide eyes. I was just coming to check on the new specimens, he stammered, his face turning an alarming shade of red. Panic gripped me. Dr. Jameson, I can explain. But he was already backing away, nearly knocking over a potted fern in his haste to leave. Shit, I muttered, burying my face in my hands. Kira put a comforting arm around me. Hey, it's okay. It's 2023. People are more accepting now. I wanted to believe her, but the knot in my stomach said otherwise. You don't understand, I said. This is academia. Gossip spreads faster than kudzu. And spread, it did. By the next morning, the whispers had already started. I could feel the stares as I walked through the biology department, the conversations that stopped abruptly when I entered a room. Did you hear about Dr. Parker? I always thought she was a bit, And with that entomologist from Seattle, no less. I wanted to crawl into a hole and never come out, but Kira, bless her, was a rock. Let them talk, she said, squeezing my hand under the table at lunch. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Easy for her to say. She was out and proud, comfortable in her skin in a way I'd never been. I, on the other hand, felt like I was walking around with a neon sign over my head that screamed, confused lesbian having an existential crisis. Things came to a head a few days later. I was in my office trying to focus on a grant proposal when there was a knock at the door. It was Emily, my younger sister. Hey sis, she said, an uncharacteristically serious look on her face. Got a minute? My heart sank. Of course the news had reached my family. I braced myself for the worst as Emily sat down. So, she began, fidgeting with a pen on my desk. I heard some rumors. I took a deep breath. Is it true? She interrupted. Are you dating a woman? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. To my utter shock, Emily broke into a wide grin. That's awesome. Is she hot? When do I get to meet her? I blinked, stunned. You're not mad or disappointed? Emily rolled her eyes. Amelia, come on, it's 2023. Plus, I always had a feeling you might be into girls. Remember your obsession with Xena, warrior princess? I laughed, feeling a weight lift off my chest. God, I haven't thought about that in years. We talked for hours, like we used to when we were kids. I told her about Kira, about my fears and doubts, about the gossip at work. Emily listened, offering support and the occasional sarcastic comment. Look, she said as she was leaving, Mom and Dad might take a minute to adjust, but they love you. And anyone who has a problem with you being happy can go to hell. I hugged her tightly, feeling truly grateful for the first time in days. That evening, I invited Kira over to my apartment. As we cuddled on the couch, I told her about Emily's visit. I told you it would be okay, Kira said, kissing my forehead. I looked up at her, struck once again by how beautiful she was. I'm sorry I've been such a mess, I said. This is all so new to me. Kira cupped my face in her hands. Hey, no apologies, we're in this together, okay? As our lips met, I felt a surge of courage. Maybe I didn't have all the answers yet. Maybe I never would. But with Kira by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. Little did I know, the biggest challenge was just around the corner. The annual department meeting was always a snooze fest, but this year, I was on edge. The whispers hadn't died down, and I could feel the weight of unspoken judgments every time I entered a room. Kira had offered to come for moral support, but I insisted on facing this alone. In hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best idea. I was in the middle of presenting my latest research on drought-resistant crops when I noticed Dr. Jameson whispering to the department head, Dr. Thompson. Their eyes kept darting towards me, and I felt my throat tighten. Pushing through, I finished my presentation on autopilot, barely registering the polite applause. As people started to file out for the coffee break, Dr. Thompson's voice cut through the chatter. "Dr. Parker, could you stay behind for a moment?" My heart sank. This was it. I was about to be fired, or worse, publicly humiliated. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady my breathing as the room emptied. Dr. Thompson closed the door and turned to face me, her expression unreadable. "Amelia," she began, and I braced myself for the worst. "There have been some rumors circulating about your personal life." I opened my mouth to defend myself, but she held up a hand. "Let me finish. Normally, I wouldn't give a damn about who my staff are dating. But when it affects the work environment, I have to step in. Dr. Thompson, I can explain." "You don't need to explain anything," she interrupted. "Your personal life is your business, but I need to know, are you and Dr. Martinez in a relationship?" I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. This was it, the moment of truth. I could lie, protect myself, go back to my safe, predictable life. Or I could take the leap. "Yes," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, we are." Dr. Thompson nodded, as if confirming something she already knew. "I see. And how long has this been going on?" "A few weeks," I admitted. "But it hasn't affected our work, I swear." She sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Amelia, you're one of our brightest researchers. Your work on sustainable agriculture could change lives. But I can't have this distraction causing problems in the department." My heart plummeted. This was it. I was about to lose everything I'd worked for. "That's why," Dr. Thompson continued, "I'm promoting you to lead researcher on the drought-resistant crop project." I blinked, sure I had misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me," she said, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "You're the best person for the job, regardless of who you're dating. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can take it up with me." I felt lightheaded, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. "Dr. Thompson, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll take the job," she replied. "And maybe buy your girlfriend a drink to celebrate." As I left the office, my head spinning, I nearly collided with Kira. She'd been waiting outside, pacing nervously. "Well?" she asked, her eyes searching my face. "What happened?" I burst into tears, the stress of the past few weeks finally catching up with me. Kira pulled me into her arms, not caring who saw. Hey, she soothed, stroking my hair. "It's okay. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." Through my sobs, I managed to choke out, "I got promoted." Kira pulled back, her eyes wide. "What? Amelia, that's amazing." I nodded, laughing through my tears. "I know, I was so scared, and now you're out, you're successful, and you have a smoking hot girlfriend." Kira finished, grinning. "Life's pretty good, huh?" I pulled her in for a kiss, right there in the hallway. For once, I didn't care who saw. That night, we celebrated at Kira's apartment. As we clinked our wine glasses, I felt a surge of affection for this woman who had turned my world upside down in the best possible way. "To new beginnings," Kira toasted. "And to being true to ourselves," I added. As we settled on the couch, Kira's arm around me, I felt a sense of peace I'd never experienced before. For the first time in my life, all the pieces seemed to fit. "You know," Kira mused, playing with a strand of my hair, "I've been thinking about our research. What if we combined our fields? Plant-insect interactions in drought conditions could be groundbreaking." I sat up, excitement bubbling in my chest. "That's brilliant. We could study how climate change is affecting pollination patterns, or how drought-resistant plants are changing insect habitats." Kira's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Exactly. It could be a whole new area of study." As we bounced ideas back and forth, I realized this was what I'd been missing all my life. Not just a romantic partner, but an intellectual equal. Someone who challenged me and inspired me in equal measure. Later, as we lay tangled together in Kira's bed, I traced the line of her collarbone with my finger. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" she asked, her voice husky with sleep. "For helping me find the courage to be myself," I said. for showing me that I can have love and a career and not have to choose. Kira pulled me closer, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. You always had that courage, Amelia. You just needed a little nudge to see it. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a sense of excitement for the future. There would be challenges ahead, no doubt. Coming out to my parents, navigating our new professional relationship, dealing with the occasional closed-minded colleague. But for the first time, I felt ready to face it all. Because now, I wasn't just Amelia Parker, shy botanist. I was Amelia Parker, out and proud lead researcher, with a brilliant girlfriend and a world of possibilities ahead of me. And that was a future worth fighting for. The morning after my promotion, I woke up in Kira's arms, feeling like I was on top of the world. But as the initial euphoria faded, reality started to creep in. There was still one major hurdle to overcome, telling my parents. You don't have to do this now, Kira said, sensing my anxiety as I stared at my phone. There's no rush. I shook my head. No, I need to do this. They should hear it from me, not through the grapevine. With trembling fingers, I dialed my parents' number. Mom picked up on the third ring. Amelia, what a lovely surprise. How are you, dear? I took a deep breath. Mom, is Dad there? I need to talk to you both. There was a pause, and I could practically feel her concern radiating through the phone. Of course, honey. Is everything all right? A few moments later, I heard the click of the speakerphone and my dad's gruff voice. What's going on, pumpkin? I closed my eyes, gripping Kira's hand for support. Mom, Dad, I have some news. I've been promoted to lead researcher on the drought-resistant crop project. Oh, honey, that's wonderful, Mom exclaimed. Congratulations, kiddo, Dad chimed in. We always knew you had it in you. I swallowed hard. Thanks, but that's not all. I'm dating someone. That's great news, Mom said. Who's the lucky guy? Here it was, the moment of truth. It's not a guy, Mom. Her name is Kira. She's an entomologist and she's amazing. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. I could hear my own heart pounding in my ears. Finally, Dad spoke. Amelia, are you telling us you're gay? I think so, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Or maybe bi. I'm still figuring it out. But I know I love Kira. Another pause. Then, to my utter shock, I heard my father chuckle. Well, I'll be damned, he said. Our little girl, dating a bug scientist. Your mother owes me $20. Robert, Mom scolded, but I could hear the smile in her voice. Amelia, honey, we love you no matter what. Are you happy? Tears of relief streamed down my face. Yes, Mom, I'm really happy. Then that's all that matters, she said firmly. Now, when do we get to meet this Kira? As I hung up the phone, I collapsed into Kira's arms, sobbing with relief. She held me tight, stroking my hair. See? She murmured. I told you it would be okay. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Between diving into my new research role and navigating the evolving dynamics of our relationship, Kira and I barely had a moment to breathe. But it was exhilarating. One sunny afternoon, we decided to take a break and visit the botanical garden. As we strolled hand in hand through the lush greenery, I couldn't help but marvel at how much my life had changed in such a short time. Look at this, Kira said, pointing to a vibrant butterfly perched on a nearby flower. Papilio machon, the old-world swallowtail. I leaned in, admiring the delicate creature. It's beautiful. And look at the plant it's on. That's a Butylja davidi, butterfly bush. Kira grinned. Match made in heaven, huh? I turned to her, my heart swelling. Just like us. She pulled me close, her lips meeting mine in a tender kiss. As we stood there, surrounded by the beauty of nature, I felt a sense of profound rightness. This was where I belonged. Our moment was interrupted by a familiar voice. Dr. Parker, is that you? We broke apart to see Dr. Thompson approaching, a knowing smile on her face. And Dr. Martinez, lovely to see you both. I felt a momentary flash of panic, but Kira squeezed my hand reassuringly. Dr. Thompson, I said, straightening up. We were just, discussing the symbiotic relationship between Lepidoptera and Flora. She raised an eyebrow. Is that what they're calling it these days? Well, don't let me interrupt your research. As she walked away, I buried my face in Kira's shoulder, mortified. but Kira just laughed, the sound echoing through the garden. "Come on, plant nerd," she said, tugging me towards a secluded corner. "I think we need to conduct some more in-depth studies." Later that evening, as we lay tangled together on a picnic blanket, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant hues, I felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you," I murmured, tracing patterns on Kira's arm. "For what?" she asked, her voice soft. "For helping me bloom," I said. "I was so closed off before, so afraid to really live. You've shown me a whole new world." Kira propped herself up on one elbow, her eyes serious. "Emilia, you did that yourself. I just gave you a little water and sunlight. The strength to grow was always inside you." As we kissed, slow and deep, I felt like I was finally, truly alive. The shy, repressed botanist I'd been seemed like a distant memory. In her place was a woman who knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to reach for it. The next morning, as we walked into the lab together, I held my head high. Let them whisper. Let them stare. I was Dr. Emilia Parker, lead researcher and out-and-proud lesbian, or maybe bisexual. The jury was still out on that one, and I was ready to change the world, one drought-resistant plant at a time. As we settled into our respective workstations, Kira winked at me over her microscope. "Ready to revolutionize the field of agroentomology, Dr. Parker?" I grinned back, feeling a thrill of excitement. "Bring it on, Dr. Martinez." And as we dove into our work, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we'd face them together. Because sometimes, the most beautiful gardens grow from the most unexpected seeds. Months flew by like pages torn from a calendar, and before I knew it, Kira and I were knee-deep in our joint research project. The lab had become our second home, filled with the hum of equipment and the occasional curse when an experiment didn't go as planned. "Damn it," I muttered one afternoon, peering into a petri dish. "These seedlings aren't responding to the drought conditions like they should." Kira looked up from her own work, a smudge of dirt on her cheek making her look adorably disheveled. "Maybe we need to adjust the soil composition? Or it could be related to the changes in the insect population we've been observing." I nodded, chewing on my lower lip. "You might be onto something there. Let's cross-reference our data and see if we can spot any correlations." As we huddled over our laptops, shoulders touching, I marveled at how seamlessly our work styles had meshed. Kira's out-of-the-box thinking complemented my methodical approach perfectly. It was like a beautiful symbiosis, not unlike the plant-insect interactions we were studying. Hours later, bleary-eyed but triumphant, we had our breakthrough. "Look at this," Kira exclaimed, pointing at a graph on her screen. "The changes in pollinator behavior are directly impacting the drought resistance of the plants. It's like they're adapting together." I leaned in, my excitement growing as I absorbed the implications. "This could be huge, Kira. We might be looking at a whole new approach to sustainable agriculture." In our elation, we didn't even notice Dr. Thompson enter the lab until she cleared her throat. "I hope I'm interrupting good news?" We turned, grinning like kids caught with their hands in the cookie jar. "Dr. Thompson," I said, trying to compose myself, "we've just made a significant discovery in our research." As we explained our findings, Dr. Thompson's eyes widened. "This is impressive work, doctors. I think it's time we consider presenting this at the National Agricultural Science Conference next month." Kira and I exchanged shocked glances. The conference was the biggest event in our field, attended by the top researchers from around the country. "Are you sure we're ready?" I asked, a familiar twinge of self-doubt creeping in. Dr. Thompson fixed me with a stern look. "Dr. Parker, you and Dr. Martinez are doing groundbreaking work here. It's time to share it with the world." As she left, Kira pulled me into a tight hug. "Can you believe it? We're going to the conference." I laughed, spinning her around. "We did it. We actually did it." In the weeks that followed, our lives became a whirlwind of preparation. Late nights at the lab bled into early mornings, fueled by too much coffee and the occasional power nap on the break room couch. But amidst the chaos, Kira and I found moments of peace. Like the night we took a break to stargaze on the university's rooftop, a thermos of hot chocolate between us. "Do you ever wonder," Kira mused, her head on my shoulder, "if there are planets out there with completely different ecosystems? Insects and plants we couldn't even imagine?" I smiled, running my fingers through her hair. "All the time. Maybe someday we'll be the ones to discover them." As I looked up at the vast expanse of stars, I felt small but also incredibly connected. To the universe, to the earth beneath us, and to the woman beside me. The night before we were due to leave for the conference, Kira surprised me with a visit to the butterfly house at the local botanical gardens. As we walked through the humid air surrounded by fluttering wings and vibrant flowers, she pulled me close. "Remember our first kiss?" she whispered, nodding towards a nearby orchid. I blushed, the memory still vivid. How could I forget? I thought my heart was going to burst out of my chest. Kira's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Want to recreate it? For science, of course?" I glanced around, but we were alone in this section of the conservatory. "Well, if it's for science." Our lips met, and just like that first time, I felt a jolt of electricity run through me. But now, instead of nervousness, there was a deep sense of belonging, of rightness. As we broke apart, a brilliant blue morpho butterfly landed on Kira's shoulder. We both froze, not wanting to startle it. "Now that's what I call a good omen," Kira whispered, her breath tickling my ear. The next morning, as we boarded the plane to the conference, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Kira must have sensed my anxiety because she reached over and squeezed my hand. "We've got this, Em," she said softly. "Our research is solid, and we make a great team." I nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right, it's just, I've never done anything like this before." Kira's smile was warm and reassuring. "There's a first time for everything, and I'll be right there with you, every step of the way." As the plane took off, I leaned back in my seat, Kira's hand still in mine. I thought about how far I'd come from the shy, closeted botanist to a confident researcher about to present groundbreaking work at a national conference, and all because I'd taken a chance on love and on myself. The conference center was a hive of activity, buzzing with the energy of hundreds of brilliant minds coming together. As we set up our presentation materials, I caught snippets of conversations about climate change, genetic modifications, and sustainable farming practices. It was both exhilarating and intimidating. "Dr. Parker, Dr. Martinez," a voice called out. We turned to see Dr. Jameson approaching, looking uncomfortable. I wanted to wish you luck on your presentation." I blinked, surprised. This was the first time he'd spoken to me directly since the greenhouse incident. "Thank you, Dr. Jameson. That means a lot." He nodded, his eyes darting between us. "Your work, it's impressive. I may not understand your personal choices, but I can't deny the quality of your research." As he walked away, Kira nudged me. "Look at that. You're changing minds without even trying." I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. We're changing minds, together. As we took our places at the podium, ready to present our findings to a room full of the country's top agricultural scientists, I felt a calm settle over me. This was where I belonged. Not just in the world of science, but standing beside Kira, ready to face whatever challenges came our way. I looked out at the sea of faces, took a deep breath, and began. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today to discuss a revolutionary approach to drought-resistant agriculture." The applause was deafening as Kira and I concluded our presentation. I stood there, slightly dazed, as a sea of hands shot up for questions. We'd done it. We'd actually done it. "Dr. Parker, Dr. Martinez," a distinguished-looking woman in the front row began, "your findings could revolutionize our approach to sustainable agriculture in drought-prone areas. Have you considered the implications for developing countries?" As Kira fielded the question with her usual eloquence, I felt a surge of pride. This wasn't just about us anymore. Our work could make a real difference in the world. The rest of the conference passed in a blur of networking, workshops, and late-night discussions over lukewarm coffee. But through it all, Kira was my constant, her hand in mine, her smile a beacon in the chaos. On our last night, we snuck away from the closing gala, giggling like schoolgirls as we ran down to the hotel's deserted pool area. The moon hung low and full, casting a silvery glow over the water. "We should skinny dip," Kira suggested, her eyes glinting with mischief. I gasped, scandalized but tempted. "Kira, we can't. What if someone sees?" She grinned, already shimmying out of her dress. "Live a little, Dr. Parker. Isn't that what you've been learning to do?" I hesitated for a moment, then thought, what the hell, and started unbuttoning my blouse. As we slipped into the cool water, I felt a thrill of excitement. This was so unlike the old me, but it felt incredible. Kira swam over, wrapping her arms around my waist. "See? Sometimes breaking the rules is fun." As our lips met, the kiss tasted of chlorine and champagne and possibility. I tangled my fingers in her wet hair, pulling her closer. Suddenly, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. "Hey, who's down there?" "Shit," Kira whispered, laughing. "Quick, grab your clothes." We scrambled out of the pool, snatching up our discarded outfits and running, dripping and half-naked, back to our room. As soon as the door closed behind us, we collapsed onto the bed in fits of laughter. "Oh my God," I gasped, clutching my sides. "I can't believe we just did that." Kira propped herself up on one elbow, looking at me with a mixture of amusement and affection. "You're full of surprises, Amelia Parker. I love that about you." As we lay there, catching our breath, I marveled at how much I'd changed. The old Amelia would never have dreamed of skinny dipping at a professional conference. But then again, the old Amelia wouldn't have believed she'd be presenting groundbreaking research with her girlfriend either. The next morning, as we packed our bags to head home, my phone buzzed with a notification. I opened it to find an email from one of the top agricultural journals in the country. They wanted to publish our research. "Kira," I shouted, nearly dropping my phone in excitement. "Look at this." She read over my shoulder, her eyes widening. "Holy shit, Em, this is huge." We danced around the hotel room, giddy with success. As we calmed down, Kira pulled me close, her expression turning serious. "You know," she said softly, "when I first met you in that convenience store, I never imagined we'd end up here. You've come so far, Em. I'm so proud of you." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you. You gave me the courage to be myself." The flight home was a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. As the plane touched down in Plano, I felt a sense of coming full circle. This was where it had all begun, in a small college town in Texas. But now, everything was different. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Our paper was published to widespread acclaim. And suddenly, Kira and I found ourselves in demand. Universities wanted us to give lectures, agricultural companies sought our advice, and even a few environmental nonprofits reached out about potential collaborations. Through it all, we leaned on each other. When the pressure got too much, Kira would drag me out for impromptu picnics in the botanical gardens. When writer's block struck as we worked on our next paper, I'd surprise her with late-night bug hunting expeditions. One particularly stressful day, after a series of frustrating experiments, Kira found me in the lab, slumped over my microscope. "All right, that's it," she declared, pulling me to my feet. "We're taking a break." Before I could protest, she was leading me out of the building and across campus. We ended up at the small pond where we'd shared our first real kiss. "Remember this place?" she asked, a soft smile playing on her lips. I nodded, feeling a rush of emotion. How could I forget? This is where I finally admitted to myself how I felt about you. Kira took both my hands in hers. "Amelia, these past months have been the most incredible of my life. Not just because of our work, but because of you. You challenge me, you inspire me, and you make me laugh like no one else can." My heart began to race. Was this going where I thought it was going? Kira continued, her voice thick with emotion. "I know we haven't been together that long, but when you know, you know. And I know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you." She dropped to one knee, pulling a small box from her pocket. Inside was a delicate ring, adorned with a pattern of leaves and tiny gemstones that looked like dewdrops. "Amelia Parker," she said, her eyes shining, "will you marry me?" For a moment I couldn't speak. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Was it too soon? What would people say? But then I looked into Kira's eyes, and all those doubts melted away. "Yes," I whispered, then louder. "Yes, of course I'll marry you." As she slipped the ring onto my finger, I pulled her up into a kiss. Around us, a small crowd of students had gathered, applauding and cheering. Later that night, as we lay in bed, I couldn't stop staring at the ring on my finger. It caught the moonlight, sending tiny rainbows dancing across the ceiling. "What are you thinking?" Kira murmured, nuzzling into my neck. I turned to face her, overcome with love and gratitude. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am, and how excited I am for our future together." As we drifted off to sleep, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. From a shy, closeted botanist to an engaged, successful researcher, I'd bloomed in ways I never thought possible. And it was all because I'd taken a chance on love, on Kira, and on myself. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we'd face them together. Because that's what Kira and I did best. We grew together, adapting and thriving, just like the plants and insects we studied. Our love was its own beautiful ecosystem, and I couldn't wait to see how it would continue to evolve. The months leading up to our wedding flew by in a whirlwind of lab work, venue hunting, and heated debates over floral arrangements. Who knew two scientists could get so worked up over the difference between baby's breath and Queen Anne's lace? As the big day approached, I found myself oscillating between excitement and anxiety. It wasn't cold feet. I had no doubts about Kira. It was more the lingering fear that something would go wrong, that this happiness was too good to be true. The night before the wedding, Kira found me in our home office, surrounded by research papers and half-packed boxes. We'd decided to move to a little house with a greenhouse, a perfect blend of our passions. "Em?" she said softly, leaning against the doorframe. "What are you doing up? It's past midnight." I looked up, blinking owlishly. "Just thinking about everything." Kira crossed the room, perching on the edge of my desk. "Having second thoughts?" she asked, her tone light, but with an undercurrent of concern. "God, no," I said quickly, reaching for her hand. "Never about you. It's just, it all seems too perfect, you know? Like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop." Kira's expression softened. She tugged me to my feet, pulling me into a tight embrace. "Oh, Em, life isn't always going to be perfect. We'll have our ups and downs just like everyone else. But we'll face them together, okay?" I nodded against her shoulder, breathing in her familiar scent of lavender and soil. "I love you," I murmured. "I love you too," she replied, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Now come to bed. We've got a big day tomorrow." The wedding day dawned bright and clear, a perfect Texas spring morning. As I stood in front of the mirror in my simple white dress, my sister Emily fussing with my hair, I felt a sense of calm settle over me. "You ready for this?" Emily asked, meeting my eyes in the reflection. I nodded, a smile spreading across my face. "More than ready." The ceremony was a blur of happy tears and laughter. Kira looked stunning in her tailored suit, and when our eyes met as I walked down the aisle, the rest of the world fell away. It was just us, making a promise to grow together for the rest of our lives. At the reception, surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Dr. Thompson clinked her glass, calling for attention. "I've known Amelia for years," she began, her usual stern demeanor softened by emotion. "And I've never seen her as happy or as brilliant as she's been since meeting Kira. Your research is changing the world, ladies. And your love, well, it's an inspiration to us all." As we swayed to our first dance, Kira whispered in my ear, "So, Dr. Parker Martinez, how does it feel to be a married woman?" I grinned, pulling her closer. "Pretty damn amazing, Dr. Martinez Parker." The weeks after the honeymoon were a flurry of activity, as we settled into our new home and dove back into our research. Our paper on drought-resistant crops had gained international attention, and we were fielding calls from agricultural departments around the world. One evening, as we sat in our backyard, surrounded by the experimental garden we'd planted, Kira turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "You know," she said, tracing patterns on my palm, "we've made quite a name for ourselves in the world of plants and bugs, but there's one experiment we haven't tried yet." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh? And what's that?" She took a deep breath. "What do you think about? Kids?" For a moment, I was stunned into silence. Kids? Us? The idea had never really crossed my mind. But as I looked at Kira, her eyes full of hope and love, I felt a surge of excitement. "I think," I said slowly, "that would be the most amazing experiment yet." Kira's face lit up, and she pulled me into a kiss that tasted of possibilities and new beginnings. The adoption process was long and often frustrating. There were mountains of paperwork, invasive home studies, and more than a few setbacks. But through it all, Kira and I clung to each other and to our dream of building a family. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we got the call. A baby girl, just a few days old, needed a home. Were we interested? The moment I held little Rosie in my arms, I knew our lives would never be the same. She was tiny and perfect, with a tuft of dark hair and eyes that seemed to hold all the wisdom in the world. "Hello, little one," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Welcome to our family." Kira wrapped her arms around us both, her voice choked with emotion. Our very own little sprout. As we brought Rosie home, introducing her to the wonders of our garden and the fascinating world of insects safely behind glass, of course, I marveled at how full my life had become. From the shy, closeted botanist I'd once been to a wife, mother, and respected scientist, I'd grown in ways I never thought possible. But life, as it often does, had one more surprise in store for us. It came in the form of a late-night phone call from Dr. Thompson. "Amelia," she said, her voice grave, "I need you and Kira to come to the lab immediately. There's been an accident." As we rushed to the university, Rosie safely with my sister, I felt a sense of dread building in my stomach. When we arrived, we found the lab in chaos. Equipment was overturned, papers scattered everywhere, and in the center of it all, a strange, shimmering portal. "What the hell happened?" Kira demanded, her hand gripping mine tightly. Dr. Thompson looked at us, her face pale. It was an experiment gone wrong. We were trying to create a device to combat desertification, but instead, we've opened a gateway to another world, a world that seems to be dying. As we stared into the swirling vortex, I could see glimpses of an alien landscape, strange plants withering under multiple suns, insects unlike anything we'd ever seen struggling to survive. "We need your help," Dr. Thompson said. "Your research, your understanding of plant-insect interactions in extreme conditions. You might be the only ones who can save this world." Kira and I exchanged a look. This was far beyond anything we'd ever imagined. It was dangerous, possibly even deadly, but it was also the opportunity of a lifetime. "What do you think?" I asked Kira, my heart racing. She squeezed my hand, a determined glint in her eye. "I think we've got work to do." As we stepped towards the portal, hand in hand, I realized that this was just another step in our journey. Whatever lay on the other side, whatever challenges we'd face, we'd do it together. Because that's what Kira and I did best. We adapted, we grew, and we thrived. And as the strange light enveloped us, I couldn't help but smile. Our greatest adventure was just beginning.